This is Gerardo Del Real with Resource Stock Digest. Joining me today is the chairman and CEO of ALX Resources, Mr. Warren Stanyer. Warren, I would ask how you are, and I hope personally that you are well. But man, I know it's a volatile time. We just saw a 13% drop in the Dow. The VIX closed at, I think, above 80, truly historic times. So I will ask personally, how are you doing, sir?
Well, I'm doing well physically. I think everybody emotionally feels a little bit. There's a combination of fear and dread, and then the optimism that you hope to reappear. So I think that's how I feel. Honestly, it's been a tough time the last week or so. The week after PDAC, and luckily a lot of people haven't showed symptoms from PDAC, people that were on the floor, exhibitors like myself. So that's a good thing. There was a lot of hygiene that was being practiced. For at least that was something that I think has helped a lot.
Good. Let me ask you, just again personally, how has this outbreak, this pandemic, affected you? What's changed, and what are you moving forward? Can you share some optimism on what you hope could come out of this situation?
Well, I think what's changed is the average investor is scared witless. I'll rhyme that word, and I don't know when the retail market will recover here, because most people have really been hammered and lost a lot of money. The positive side of that is that's when big companies tend to move in because they have cash generally, and they're the ones that want to get something at a lower price. And without being total vultures, because they don't like being labeled that way, I think we have a possibility that a big company might like what we're doing. We just have to come up with some goods here.
Well, let's talk about it. You had a news release today where you mentioned intersecting nickel-copper mineralization at your Falcon nickel project in northern Saskatchewan. Can we talk about that? Obviously encouraging news. We're awaiting assays, but I think this came on the second hole. Is that correct?
Came on the second hole. So on this particular target, we modeled from the VTEM data, the airborne data from 2005, which generally you can model from and get a reliable target. For whatever reason, the first hole missed. So we did a borehole survey where you put a probe, an electromagnetic probe, down the hole that you've just drilled, and everybody's sort of standing, the drillers are waiting for you, etc. You want to get it done quickly. And we saw a target that was shallower nearby the first hole that we drilled. So we aimed for it, and we hit it from the same setup. So we're excited about that, because there's a map on our website. When I'm staring at it right now, and we're basically 100 meters away from two mineralized holes that were drilled in 1965, and we're more than 100 meters away from a hole that was drilled in 1957 that had over 1% nickel over 5.5 meters or so. So there's definitely potential for the area. What we need to do now is we've moved off of that setup to a new target, what we call V3, Victor 3, and V3 has some great potential. The drill's getting towards it, so we're all on pins and needles. I mean, we all love discoveries. Meanwhile, Victor 1, V1, we need to do a ground survey there to resolve these issues. The borehole doesn't give you everything that you need. It gave us enough to see a nearby anomaly near the first hole, and sure enough, it was mineralized. I mean, we see the sulfides. We're using an XRF machine, so that's X-ray fluorescence. It's a field device that allows you to know what kind of minerals are in your drill core. So we know that there's nickel there. We know that there's copper there. You can't come up with a precise assay from such a thing generally, but at least you know the presence is there, and it matches the sulfidic intersection. So that's what we're waiting for now. And so this is a new zone. I'm trying to come up with a name. Maybe the Gerardo zone. I mean,
the COVID zone.
That's for sale. Anybody wants it named, it's going to cost you. But
So, in all seriousness, Warren, I understand that the sulfide mineralization began relatively shallow, right?
That 47 meters, we first saw the sulfides. in this noritic rock that started a few meters before that. So this is classic of a magmatic nickel sulfide style flow, obviously buried, whereas the ones that in the trenches, it came up to surface. In this case, it's deeper than almost any intersection in that area, so that's 150 feet. I mean, a lot of the nickel that was found there in the past in drill holes was at 50 feet. So, you know, we're finding new things, and a ground survey again will tie things together for us, and we can see how this conductor, why it's so mysterious, and we just didn't get what we needed from A, the airborne, or B, the borehole in terms of a global look at the zone.
Excellent. So I would ask you what the next steps are. It sounds like you're on that as we speak. Do you have a timeline in mind for when you'll get that accomplished and have results out to the market?
Well, again, we won't have assays right away, but if we hit sulfides in this next hole, we will likely give a similar update, because we can tell, again, it's sulfides. B, the XRF tells us if there's minerals in those sulfides, because some sulfides can be barren. That's the risk here. It always is. But because we're in an area where there is nickel, and there's a lot of nickel around, we hope and pray that this will be mineralized as well.
Hope and pray. A lot of that going on, Warren. I am looking forward to having you back on once we get some numbers that we can actually talk about in more certain terms. Thank you for taking the time today. I know it's a historic time as far as the markets and as a society, and thanks for coming on, and hopefully next time we're talking about a big new discovery.
Well, I appreciate coming on, and I'd like to urge your listeners and any shareholders that want to see what we're doing to go to our website. There's some pictures, there's a map of what we're doing and how we're doing it. And there's two things that I've learned recently. That nickel will always be consumed because it's sitting at 550 here. It hasn't dropped off the map. And the second thing I've learned is that printer ink will always cost more than the printer that you own. So two things in life you can count on.
The printer is the loss leader, right?
Anyway, thanks for calling, and I appreciate being able to tell people about the project, about the Falcon Nickel project.
Looking forward to having you back on. Thanks again, Warren.
You're welcome. All the best, Gerardo.
Same your way. Thank you.